Alright, I'm going to show you my mistake here, so you don't make your own mistake doing this. Yeah, this was a goof. I was going to edit this or not film it, but yeah, I'll show you mine so you don't make your own. Okay, you can see here, back on it, when I put this up in there, actually when I was looking at the footage, when I was uploading it last night, I noticed my piece that was in here, my square tubing that goes up, is on an angle to that. I gotta correct that. What I'm going to do is these tacks, again, they're only tacked in, and this is why, because I made a goof. I'll cut these tacks loose. I'll cut this back plate here loose. Just quick cut off wheel, zip zip, and it'll fall right off. I'll cut this tack, I'll probably leave that one and that one, that tack and that tack. And I'll move that down inside to give that angle that I need to push this up against that square tubing now. That's gotta be, it's in there about like that right now. Again, it's the little stuff like this. I was moving too fast. I was thinking about other things. I was doing other things, coming back, getting on it, coming back, getting on it, thinking, oh, I gotta get this done. Well, that's when stuff like this, little tiny mistakes. I mean, it only has to come down probably that far, and it'll be perfect. But I did. I screwed up. So now I gotta fix it. Right now, it's easy to fix. That's why I tack everything in, check it again, so I can avoid the problems that would have came up with. Fixable, but again, just little problems lead to bigger problems if you don't catch them. Luckily I caught this, so hey, YouTube, you saved me. But what I'll do now, like I said, is I'll cut them, set it back in there. I'll push this down to where this angle looks better, and it comes up into it nice and flush on the square tubing that's dropping down, and then I'll zap it in. So that's where I'm at. Okay, so I made my little cuts. You can see there. Dropped her down to where that fits nice and flat now on there. Looks like I got it. Just had to drop it that far, right? Again, this is where taking your time and thinking it over, because I almost did it again. If I look, now I'm going to need the light. One of these days I'll remember to leave the light over there instead of over here by the charger. And I get my light here. You can see right there between that center link, that center drag link, and the bottom of that, I'm going to be too close. I gotta have enough room in there to drop those bolts down, plus my rubber pads, my double rubber pads. I know in there, I got plenty of room for the pulleys and everything coming off that crank. So that piece there can come up to give me that room that I need in there for when my bolts drop in, my double rubber pad, another piece of little flat plate with the 2 holes drilled in it, and then the nuts. It's going to take up some thickness there, and that drag link, center link, has got to be able to move freely in there without touching nothing. So that's going to have to come up. Probably that much. So what I'll do now is I'll cut it here, and I'll bring it up to here and add my piece in here. That still might be enough there to get a good weld on it and still make that. Or I got another option. I can bring that back up to where it was, and I think this is the one I'm going to do. Let's see, right there. You can see that's the center post, the drop down post piece. Get that set over here. Put that on. What I'll do is I'll take that piece back out and I'll shave it off on one side and kick it out to where it matches up. And then my angle iron piece there will still be flat up against it, and I'll still get good solid downs through, but it'll also raise it up enough that those 2 bolts on the bottom won't hit that or even come close to touching that center link as it goes back and forth to steer the car. So that's what I'm going to work on now. Try to get that back out of there, shave it, kick that post that way a little to make that angle right. So that's where I'm at. Again, it's those little things like that that could aggravate the problem of getting my height right here or making it solid. If it was on an angle to that, and if I was to rely on the rubber bushing to make up for the angle, after time that rubber's gonna move with heat, with age. That rubber's gonna move a little, and that could shift it, and after a while going down the road, all of a sudden the front end's like this, or the front end droops a little, and all it's got to do is just drop a little bit up here and it'll look like a mile off back there. So I really need to make this as true as it can possibly be, and it adds stress on this wishbone piece that goes up and mounts there and there, and it comes down and grabs right there. That's the way they used to set these front ends and adjust them. You tighten up that one and it raises and pulls this side of the car up. You loosen it, you tighten this one, and it moves this side up the tension on it does, and it pulls it and it lifts the front end up. It squares it as it puts that tension on there and pulls it in. That's kind of how these old cars with the single nose mount, that's how they kind of work. Modern cars, they got a body mount up front here. The core support on a modern car is huge. It goes all the way from there to there. And usually it's got your headlight buckets all incorporated into it. But on those, on the frame rails, you've seen when I had this off, they come out and there's a big hole there that the body mount goes on, and then the big core support fits on there, and they double them so that you can adjust either side of them to make it all match. And they eventually did away with this strut system that kind of works for a while until their firewall starts to bend and move and give way. That's why on a lot of these cars you see the front end. If you go out to look at them in a field or a junkyard or something, front end's probably going to be kaiwabi because of that. It's probably relaxed up there. If you see one like that, don't panic. It's probably, like I said, them are relaxed, or their rubber down there is giving out. They're not too hard to fix and get them to 1939 fitting standards with tolerances you can measure with a measuring tape. Screw the feeler gauges and stuff like a modern car. Back in these days, they had high tolerances for all of that stuff. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to ramble if I don't get back on this. So that's the plan. I'm going to rework that a little bit and get it to fit right. Hopefully once and done. Alright, I'll get back. Bye. Okay, this is going to sound a little redundant, but okay, I went ahead and punched my holes. Here's a little trick that my dad taught me that has really paid off, and it's real quick, real simple, and this will be a lifesaver for you if you're ever working on stuff. Okay, I know that these bolts right here are going to be kind of hard if I ever take it off to get back in there. So my first idea, you know, everybody's first instinct, you drill it. Instead of right at 3/8, I drilled them a little over. Whatever that is. What is that? 13/32. That was the hole I drilled. It's 2 steps up from 3/8. A little bit bigger. Not enough to get any wiggle woggle. But after I got that done, that's the easy one, right? The hole's a little bit bigger, makes it easier to go in. Here's the other one. Only takes a second to do. That big 1/2 inch. Chalk it up in the drill and just give it a bump. You can see it kind of countersinks it. And I did that on both sides. For one, it takes all the chaff off of that, all that sharp drill bit stuff. Number two, now when I drop the bolt down in there, because I'm trying to drop it in there, and there'll be a piece here, a piece of rubber, another one piece just like this, and then another piece of rubber plus the bolt. It's going to be hard to get everything to align. That little bit of a countersink right there, that bolt will just drop right in. It kind of work it, and it'll go in. Little things like that, boy, they're a lifesaver when you have multiple pieces going together. And it, like I said, takes just, you chalk up and you just give it a burp. That's it. That's all it takes to cut that kind of countersink in it. Oh, anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. I'll get back on it and get this thing zippy zap together.